Russia election 2024. Putin secures re-election as Russia's president. Vladimir Putin can assert strong public support for his domestic control and the invasion of Ukraine in a presidential election when there is no meaningful competition, allowing him to act as a rubber stamp. Putin used a highly orchestrated presidential election in which he had little to no genuine opposition to extend his authority over Russia until 2030. Giving the impression that he had the unwavering support of the Russian people for his authoritarian policies at home and his invasion of Ukraine. At noon, as scheduled, many Russians waited in huge queues at polling places to voice their displeasure with the undemocratic vote. Simultaneously, in an effort to express its own opinion, Ukraine launched a barrage of drones that went boom at various locations in Moscow and elsewhere. The Kremlin, however, disregarded these objections and, following the polls close, said that Mr. Putin had received 87% of the vote, which was an increase from his 4 prior participations in the election. Subsequently, Mr. Putin engaged in an extensive, live triumph lap, which included an arrogant, post-midnight press conference during which he addressed the demise of the detained opposition figure Alexei Navalny for the first time, characterizing it as an unfortunate episode. With his new 6-year term beginning soon, Mr. Putin will firmly establish his dominance over Russian politics and continue the war in Ukraine. By the time his term is out, he will have served as Russian leader longer than anyone since Catherine the Great in the 17th and 18th centuries. Governments in the West wasted little time in labeling the election as anti-democratic. A spokesperson for President Biden's National Security Council, Adrian Watson, stated, "The elections were certainly not free nor fair." But Mr. Putin seems just as brazen as ever, ramping up his conflict with the West and demonstrating a readiness to keep raising tensions, as he readies to assume a 5th term as president. "I think that anything is possible in today's world," Mr. Putin said when asked at the news conference about the possibility of a full-scale battle between Russia and NATO. The Kremlin sees these elections as an important ritual that helps Mr. Putin depict himself as a truly popular leader, even while the West condemns them. Now, experts anticipate that he will promote staunch war advocates within the Russian administration, in the hopes that Western backing for Ukraine would dwindle and that Russia will force the Ukrainian government to negotiate a peace accord according to its conditions. When asked about his plans for the upcoming term, Mr. Putin started by bringing up his invasion of Ukraine. "We need to carry out the tasks in the context of the special military operation," he stated. He reiterated the same point on state television, saying that the outcomes have helped consolidate society under his leadership. Given the prevalence of ballot stuffing and other forms of electoral fraud in previous Russian elections and the ban on opposition candidates participating, it was difficult to gauge the level of the Russian public's genuine support for Mr. Putin throughout the election. With independent poll observers' efforts cut to levels not witnessed since the fall of the Soviet Union, this election was also the least transparent in recent Russian history. Russia reportedly counted over 5 million votes from areas of Ukraine under its control, where armed Russian forces occasionally ordered citizens to cast ballots. In the seized Donetsk region of Ukraine, Mr. Putin reportedly received 95% of the vote. With an official tally of 78% in the 2018 presidential election, Mr. Putin received around 10% less support than he did over the weekend.